We're off.
Thanks, Sean. Hey, everybody. It's Tuesday, April 29th. You're here at the CHAOSS community weekly community call, something like that. Really happy to see everybody here, especially Sophia, her last day. We're so excited. Let's share this meeting minute document here. Here we go. As always, if somebody joins and needs the minutes, I trust somebody can drop that in the chat for them, because I cannot do more than one thing at one time. That is not going to happen. I will do neither thing well. So there you go. Yeah. And also, this is part of the CHAOSS code of conduct. You all know that, but I'll say that again. And also, of course, as always, feel free to keep your cameras off, cameras on, whatever you're comfortable with. Totally fine. Asking today about a recent win in your life. If you have something you want us to celebrate with you, or just want to celebrate in general, that would be great. Put it in here. I love seeing good things. I think we all need that from time to time, especially maybe
I'll go with the soup ladle. I like that. There's a Calvin and Hobbes where I don't know how well I'll explain this, but he's like, make a wish, and Calvin wishes for something like ridiculous, and Hobbes wishes for a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And the later scenes are him eating the sandwich, and he's like, I got my wish. And so that's kind of like a soup ladle. I don't want for much, and I always get what I want. So
yeah, if you
I'm really excited about it.
Catley's feeling better. We got new jobs. Ooh, a hybrid car. That's exciting. How do you like that so far, Sean?
Oh, it's been less than 24 hours. So
brand new.
I don't like to buy cars. And I finally, after 3 months of my car being unavailable to me, I decided I needed a car for the summer. So I bought one, and I like it. It's a very cheap car. It's Hyundai Elantra hybrid, but it works nicely.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. Here we go. Thanks, Matt. It's a good reminder. I love that. Okay. Let's hop down to the agenda here. We have a pretty light agenda. I was looking around. There's really not much to put on here. So if we have other things to talk about, there's plenty of space. So the first one is, I think we're still looking for these volunteers. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. If we don't find people to do these things, then those of us who are already going to be there are going to probably have to pick these up, which is okay, just not optimal. We'd much rather share the load, I think. A burden halved. What is that? A burden shared is a burden halved, something like that. So yeah, many hands make light work. I don't know. One of those witty sayings that I don't know. Yes, we would love more people to join and help out if that's a possibility. So I'm just putting that out here one more time. If this is of interest to you, or you're not sure, maybe you want to find out more about it, that's also valid. Pop into, we can add you to the CHAOSS Con Committee Planning channel, or you can ask it here. You can just ping one of us and ask more about it. That's also valid, whatever. The CFP closes May 9th. Yes, that's a good reminder. I have it down at the bottom here, but that's good to remind everybody. Georg, do you know how many responses we've gotten to that so far? I'm just curious.
Not off the top of my head, but I'll go find out. Go continue. I'll put it in the chat.
Okay. So do we have anybody here who's here today that wants to talk about any of these things, maybe? Maybe not. Oops, I'm trying to move this over. There we go. Okay. Nobody is very excited about helping out with this, or people are just busy, which is also valid. I know it's that time of year. Things just kind of get busy, so I get it. All right, well, I guess we'll move on.
Yeah,
Somebody wants to
I
talk about it.
so yeah, yeah, I guess we have to move on. I can do something, but I don't have any. It looks like we need a lot here. So yeah, I guess move on for now. We'll have to button this down quickly though.
Yeah, okay. Those of us who are on the committee, do we want to meet today and talk about this kind of lack of filling of these positions? Is that okay? Do we want to just talk about it
Yeah.
offline?
I think a brief conversation would be okay.
Okay,
Yeah. It does seem like those need to be
Filled. Yeah.
figured out soon.
yeah, agreed. I am gonna turn my camera off. For some reason, when I'm on this meeting, I don't know, maybe this document is too big for my poor little laptop. Does anybody else have problems with this document?
Not right now. No.
Something's going on with my computer. So I'm gonna turn my, that's not the right thing. I'm gonna turn my camera off. Because it's weird. Only in this meeting does it turn weird. So I'm guessing it's this doc. I don't know, man. Stop video. There it is. Okay. Hopefully that helps. Yeah, okay. So let's talk about that. Garrick says we have one submission, fair. But we know that they'll come in at the last minute. We hope they do. Anyway, we can talk about that too.
I mean, I
after this.
personally, I probably won't be at that meeting just because I have another lunch thing this week. But I mean, I look at those middle two, the social event. In
Yeah.
worst case scenario, like you can always just say like we're gonna meet at some indoor putt place or something in Denver, and
Just do it super informally.
yeah,
Not
I mean that's always an option
yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And then we can do it pay your way where we don't have a sponsor and everyone just
Yeah,
pays
we're just
for
hanging
them.
out. Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Just
a-
show up. Yeah.
hang out. We could always just like listen in for other social events and just like try to crash that.
One of the things is also that we are on after the last day. So
Yeah.
I don't know how many people will stay for CHAOSScon.
Yeah.
And I'll stay because my flight will be the next day, I think.
Mhm.
Well, I may actually drive. I don't have a flight yet. Never mind. But I don't plan to travel after CHAOSScon. I expect to still be there.
Yeah, if we go this route, I'd be willing to like do some research and bring up some options and at least like reach out to the venue and say, hey, we might have an informal meetup, making sure that's okay. I could commit to that level of things, but the actual like organizing an event is a little above what I can do right now.
Okay, let's move this over.
That seems to be the way to go.
Yeah, I can do some look into some places around the venue, see what our options are.
And I'm with you, Callie. Like outdoor
Right.
might be really nice.
Yeah,
That
I think it'll be great.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that sounds perfect, honestly, because I think you're right. I think we're all going to be a little bit conferenced out at that point. So yeah, just having a chill thing where we just come and go. There's no pressure. There's nothing. Yeah, I love that. Thank you, Callie, for doing that. Anybody else have any comments or questions on any of this? I mean, I don't mind doing this, I guess, if we need somebody to just keep everything running, I can do that. Then we would just
What
need
is-
an
What is
MC.
that?
What's that?
Like, what is that? Just
Somebody to just make sure that nothing's falling through the cracks.
oh, okay.
So I can do that. No problem.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. And then we just would need an MC.
Look,
So
we solved all the things except for one.
except for one, yes.
Good job.
Go us. We can just call it a day. No. We'll go. No, we'll do. There we go. Okay. All right. Anything else about CHAOSScon before we move on to metrics model stuff? I see no raised hands. I see no notes in chat. So let's go on. Thanks, everybody. This was a conversation we were having last week. For those of us who weren't there, this is what we talked about. And we said, let's continue it next week, which would be this week.
I
I
added a
see a
little bit.
proposal here.
So update, there were 2 of us at the meeting. Peculiar was there and I was there. And so still very lightly attended. So so like we talked about a proposal right here. So if you click on that link, so right now, this is the way that you come to the metrics and metrics model pages. And what we talked about was that right now, the topic areas are really the first thing you see. And from kind of our own understanding is that a lot of people just want to see the list of metrics or the list of metric models and just kind of search that way. Topic areas can be helpful, but they may also kind of hide things that you might be looking for. So our proposal was to have 3 tiles at the top. One that would just be called all metrics, which we have down below. If you scroll down a little bit. So we would keep that tile, and then we would also keep the tile called all metric models. And then the 3rd tile across the top would be browse metrics and metrics models, which would take you to these topic areas. So if you want, or like browse by topic, I think is what we decided for a title. So then when you come to this page, you only see 3 things: a tile for all metrics, a tile for all metric models, and a tile that says, browse metrics and metric models by topic, to which you would then see these topic tiles. Just a little simpler, and just enables people to get right back to that list of all metrics and all metric models. Okay, got some thumbs up. But again, there were only 2 of us there. So this is like, we're suggesting a pretty substantial change in the metrics and metrics model meeting. To which, again, there were only 2 of you, 2 of us, not 2 of you. And I don't know how this would be handled on the website side of things, but I imagine it can be handled.
Yeah, it can be handled. It would just add one more page, and then we would
Yeah.
add like just a higher level category for that browse by topic. I think yeah, I can look into like how that would
Okay.
that layout look. That's not a problem.
Okay. Any other thoughts or comments?
It seems intuitive, I
Okay.
think. So I'm okay with that change.
I also like the proposal.
Okay. And it doesn't remove any of the prior work that was done around the topics on that categorization. It's just kind of arranged a little bit differently.
Okay. Yeah, I like it. We can certainly try it and
Okay.
see if people push back and they don't like that. They will let us know.
Okay.
I'm sure they will. So I'll put an action item for me.
And I guess it would be like browse, I would say it's like browse by topic, browse metrics and by topic. Like that. That would be the title of that last tile.
Okay. Yeah, let's give it a shot.
Okie doke.
I'm just gonna, I always forget how to assign something, so I'm just gonna. Oh, there you go. There I am. Assign to me.
There, you just figured it out.
Yay, go me. I think that was what they call weaponized incompetence, when you just are like, I don't know how to do it, someone else do it. So, yeah. Okay, new template work is done? Did you
Yes,
put that
I
on
mean,
there, or was that from last time?
there's some stuff that probably still lingers. But that's okay. We can track those down. That's almost just like you know, like a document that might have a typo or something like that.
Got you. So like one-offs that people
Yeah,
report.
it's not that big of a deal. I'm sure
Okay.
we have these kind of errors throughout the project on our documentation. You know what I mean? Like just kind of low level, not too complex.
We'll just point people just to open an issue in the website repo. Is that
Exactly. If they're seeing
fair?
something. And then we talked about, you know, again, whether or not we need this meeting. We're two of us there. So
I mean, I think if people are not coming to the meeting, then it's a signal that maybe this working group should function more asynchronously. We've done that with other working groups that have kind of just faded due to changing interests in open source. I know our time is limited, so continuing to have a meeting that's not really being taken up by the community seems like not the way to go, in my opinion. If anybody was asking for my opinion, which may not be the case.
I agree. I mean, it does feel weird to
Yeah.
not have a metrics meeting in the CHAOSS project, but
Yeah.
I mean, do people think it's a time issue, like a timing issue? We can always try to change the time, like kind of like what you're doing, Sean, in I think maybe.
Yeah.
One of the things that we can also do to figure out who would be interested in a meeting at a different time is to orient again what the working group is doing, is working on, that people who want to or can make time are interested in doing. Because we've been operating for quite some time. I don't know if part of the interest is that the scope of the working group meeting is unclear to some.
So then maybe, so what, I'll ask you, Georg, like, what do you think the working group should be about? Not that like you have an answer. I'm just, I'd like to hear somebody other than myself who's in the meeting.
Yeah. From the early days of CHAOSS, when we were writing out the first metrics and releasing them, we had the working group to review the progress of the metric writing and have reviews where we gave feedback and finalized the wording, where we had active working sessions to create new metrics. And I think there are still metrics that need to be created. We had identified some new metrics in the models. When we had authors put metric models together, they had ideas for additional metrics. I think we have a list of metrics also from the app ecosystem working group, and I'm sure we have more ideas in issues or meeting minutes. So I think that is something the working group can continue to work on, all contingent on finding someone that is interested in those metrics and has time to meet. I still have the not a metric model. We decided to make it an expert guide that I wanted to work on. So I would think during the meeting that would be a good place to review that also.
Can I make a comment on that?
Yes.
I think one of the challenges in that is like if the people who are coming up with the metric ideas are not going to author them, it just
Yeah.
creates this weird dynamic, which
Yeah.
just can't seem to be sorted out.
Yeah, I agree. I've seen that. I want a metric, but I'm not going to write it so it doesn't get done.
So that distance just seems really hard to overcome.
Yeah. Which is a very interesting problem because some of those metrics we write in one session. We get together, we write it, and then maybe have one more session on wordsmithing it. So writing a metric itself is not that difficult of work.
No, and the new template I think has made it even easier because like there's so many optional fields. It's really just about that top part often, like just kind of defining what it is and how to think
Yeah.
about it, whatever the concept is.
Yep, agreed.
But we need that person there. That's the trick. We really do.
Yeah.
I guess
Even
it
for
sort of,
like a paragraph. Yeah, I'm sorry, Sophia, go
I
ahead.
was just, it sort of sounds like for that meeting, then the participant list may not be a fixed set of people. Like I know for others, it's sort of like the same people that show up to those meetings, but it's like it seems like it would be suited well by having whoever's proposing that metric lead that round or that like next meeting or two to write it. But that does mean that some weeks you might have no one if there's nothing on the table, and some weeks might have more participation. So, not to add more work to this group, but I feel like that could be a communications thing of just like, we want to work on this metric this week, but like make sure that only gets scheduled when the person who's driving that can be there. Because then if it's not, to your point, that's not as productive of a call. But that's more legwork, and I don't like recommending things that are more legwork. But I also don't want you wasting your time if it's just peculiar and nothing on the agenda. Just maybe, but like I don't know, because I think that that's the space that you want to use it for, and if we don't have anything to create there, then maybe your meetings get a little bit more flexible.
Yeah, we had talked about like trying to listen for what just moving forward, like listen to what those metrics are in these different places and encouraging folks to help take that up to the points that are here. And so we wouldn't, I think for a while we had talked about having liaisons try to listen to all the different corners of the CHAOSS project. And we had talked about just listening in on the groups that we participate in. So like, for example, I spend time in the university working group, like listening to new metrics that may come out of there. I think Peculiar spends time, like say in data science and perhaps listening to metrics that come out of there. But I guess we also have to make it clear that like, if somebody's not going to show up on this bi-weekly cadence, the metric will never be developed. Like we just can't promise that that'll be done.
The impression I'm getting is that the bi-weekly meeting is not serving our current desire to continue advancing the metrics. That's not what is happening in the meeting.
No.
So maybe we think of a new process that doesn't require a standing meeting. Something like we have the metrics ambassadors or metrics listeners in different working groups. And when a new metric is identified, then we have a set of community members that are interested in the metric definition, and whoever detects, hey, there's a new metric on the horizon, says, hey, here is the metric that I think this working group will need, and proposes an ad hoc meeting with members of that group, or sets up time during that working group where the metric originated, so that we get the people who need the metric on the call, and then our community members who are really good at defining metrics and writing that they would join that meeting if they can.
Yeah, Callie.
Yeah, I was like trying to think about this from like, I think the liaisons is really nice, because looking at it from like my perspective, or somebody in a similar boat, where it's like I'm in some like often in the data science working group, if it was identified that some work that I was doing in there was going to feed into a metric, or I was starting to work on one, then I would go to whatever meeting was topicked around that, and that would be kind of the workflow. And I have a feeling there's probably a lot of people that are in that boat of, if whether themselves or somebody else identifies a metric that works into something that they're working on in another working group, which I think is probably going to be the way that most metrics come out at this point, since we have so many specialized working groups, whether that's done like in the working group it stems from, or a ad hoc meeting. I can see that being up for discussion. But that feels like the workflow that's it's coming forward. But I could also say that that's my positioning in it, and so that's the way I'd look at it.
Okay, this is really helpful. And I think what you were saying, Callie, aligns also with what Georg was saying and Sophie as well. So one of the things that we had suggested is that during the any of these meetings, say like the university working group meeting or the data science working group meeting, that if we are attending those meetings, particularly here in the next like few weeks, we put this metrics discussion on the agenda within these working groups. So for example, like I would put it on the agenda in the university working group, and I would just say, hi, I'm Matt. And as metrics are kind of coming out of the work that's occurring here, I just like to, kind of show you the template that we have. And, if we seem to capture something in the meeting minutes here in this working group, in the university working group, perhaps it's something we can just talk about next week or the next time we meet. And same could be said for data science. Hi, I'm Peculiar. This is the metric template. And as we develop or talk about new metrics here in this working group, it's something that we've been asked to articulate, and we could just talk about this in the working group itself.
Wait, so Matt,
Yeah,
to clarify, you're saying not
Kelly.
invite, oh, sorry. I think I got stuck there, sorry. I was just gonna say, Matt, to your point, you're saying that the metric development itself should happen in like the data science working group or
That was kind
wherever,
of our
not a
proposal.
separate meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that we would be a little bit more deliberate to put it on the agenda and just kind of remind
Right.
everybody that here's the template. If we have a metric that comes up, we'd ask that we just, whether it's this week or next week or the week after, whatever, that we do take a little bit of time as a group. To Georg's point, like it doesn't take that long to write these things. And if we could just do it as a group here in this working group, that'd be great. So Callie, you had a comment or your hand up. Did you get it?
Yeah, I think you kind of got to where I was getting to, but just having somebody there in like a smaller sense as conversations going through, like in data science, at least I could speak for me, is that we're talking about all these different topics. I don't know if I really think about, what metric could come out of this, and having that reminder, having that as a part of our workflow. I think it makes a lot of sense with the data science group working group more than probably some other ones. But then also been putting it onto the agenda for the fall, like for a specific schedule, I think that helps solve the problem of how do we have the people in the room that this metric pertains to, or that is interested in it, or doing the research for it. I think that's a pretty something to keep metrics a part of the ongoing conversation, and then leaving space to actually make the ones that come up.
Cool. Yeah, Georg.
I like the direction that this conversation is going, and I want to acknowledge that what the metrics working group becomes is a group of facilitators for the metric creation, who, when a metric is created in one of the other working groups, then someone from the metric working group who knows the template really well, who can encourage everyone and walk them through the creation process. When we put this on the agenda, we don't leave it up to the topic working groups, but we bring in the facilitator from the metrics working group to guide that conversation.
Yep. This will just with the two of us. Did you have a comment, Sean? Were you gonna...
No.
Okay. With just the two of us that were in the last metric meeting, like we're not able to cover all working groups. You know what I mean? We just can't at this moment. And I don't think we were asking each other to all of a sudden like attend all of them to make sure everybody has coverage. So yeah, please understand that like not every group will have coverage in this regard. And that might be good that we just try to start slowly with a few groups and see how this goes. Yeah, Kelly.
I think there also might be room in each of those working groups. I think it's in the ideal scenario, maybe somebody who's a little bit separate from the conversation coming in can help facilitate writing a metric, but there also might be from bringing up to each of the working groups, is there somebody that's interested in being kind of the metric liaison for this working group? They work with you, Matt, and Peculiar to learn how, like, kind of learn from you, so then they can act, somebody who's already in that working group can act as that facilitator and kind of scale y'all out, so then it's not all on you, but you can we can help with this, and then the conversation can happen, like it continue to happen asynchronously in like the metrics working group and stuff like that.
Yep, that makes a ton of sense. Right, because if we could find a few more of those people where we don't have full coverage, that would be helpful. Yeah, Kevin.
Two things. One, this feels like a pretty big change or kind of direction in the way the group works. So I might recommend maybe we should create an issue to capture this discussion and kind of document it kind of a little more in the open. And then the second part is I've always liked the idea of liaisons, but in regards to the main issue that you brought up with this working group is it's a lack of participation, right? So in the working group do we think that changing the participation from showing up to the meeting to being a liaison to another working group solves that participation issue, or are we still going to have recruitment issues and trouble finding people to do this work that we're wanting done?
So to the second point, part of what we had talked about is continuing to then have the metric model meeting, so that not necessarily to create new metrics, but just to talk about anything that might need to be done or questions that folks might have as the liaisons. So it's not that we would do metric development work there, but it might be an opportunity just for us to talk a little bit about how the process is going. So just keep the meeting that way. And I don't know if that'll change participation. It'd just be an opportunity for us to kind of get together as a group again. And it may not be long. Yeah, kind of just a check-in as you're writing, Elizabeth. So I don't know if that answers kind of your second point, Kevin.
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
I think I just wanted to make a comment about the metrics meetings. If also might have been a barrier because when you show up to those meetings, you're put to work. And I like I don't know if everybody wants that. You know, a lot of people come and they just want to listen and they want to learn and lurk. And so requiring people to actually use brain power and collaborate and do actual work might, you know, be an issue. So yeah, that Matt says that came up.
It definitely came up that we're
I
like,
mean, it's a
this,
big
you're
commitment to
gonna
go to those
join and you're
meetings.
just gonna start making things. And
Yeah, right.
right.
Like,
Agree.
I just want to go. Yeah.
Yep, that definitely came up. Okay, Grace is great. Kevin, did you have another comment or your hand just up from the old?
Oh, no, it was just the, maybe if we're looking for new directions for the group, I would maybe kind of repeat what I said before, maybe the new directions, maybe that could be created as an issue where we could discuss different ideas or maybe even ask people what they would like the group to look like.
All right. Cool. Thank you for the discussion, everybody. That was very
Matt, do you
helpful.
want to take that action item then to open an issue and kind of capture this discussion there?
Well, I mean, we have it here. We could just open the issue to point to these minutes, I suppose. Kevin, could maybe you do that?
Yeah, I'll create the issue, and I think it's fine to just point to these minutes.
Yeah.
Minutes are open, so maybe I'll try to paraphrase a little bit, but I'm happy to take the action item to open that.
Cool.
To open the issue since it was my request.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a good idea. Because I know a lot of people who are at those meetings when they go are not here. Like I'm thinking of Yuhui, and others who attend that sometimes that aren't able to make this one. So yeah, I like that.
Since it's this is kind of a community-wide discussion, do you want me to open it in the community repo or metrics or models repo? I was thinking community repo since it's kind of a community-wide discussion.
Yeah, that's cool by me.
And Kevin, when that is open, do you think we should drop it in the metrics development and metrics models Slack channels?
Yeah, and probably the general as well, since
In general.
it's a general, yeah, maybe all three places, since it's
Yeah,
a general discussion or a community discussion.
yeah, makes sense. Cool. Thank you. Matt has to drop off. Okay,
Hey,
see you
Jana.
later, Matt.
Okay.
Hey, Matt.
Okay, anything else with this conversation? Great conversation, everybody. Thank you. Okay. Let's talk about this. That's exciting. Adinka and my blessing, are you on the call? Let me just scroll down here. I see Adinka. Yeah, you
Hi,
want to talk about that?
Elizabeth.
Hi.
Hello. Come here.
I can.
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, we do.
Yep.
Do you hear us?
Yes, please. So Elizabeth, what did you say?
I just asked if there's
Oh.
anything that you want to say about this election, about you and Mary Blessing taking.
Oh, okay. Thank you. So after the discussion we had in the community that we want to elect new co-chairs so that they can then champion or facilitate work that is being done in that group. I went back with it to the working group with the proposal and also the feedback from the community. And then we had the election. So two people were nominated, myself and Mary Blessing. And then we asked people in the meeting to actually vote for who they wanted, because normally we were supposed to have more than two people as nominations, but no one else came up. So We also went to the DEI working group channel to also announce that we would want people to nominate themselves and also vote for the chairs, the one, and we did that for 2 weeks. So after 2 weeks, there was no other nominee apart from Adeyinka, that's me, and Mary Blessing. And so the second meeting we then had after that, we also confirmed the votes for people in that meeting. And after that, we then decided on the 2 people to go ahead for the working group. That's why, that's where we are now.
Awesome. That's great. I love that process. I think it's super tight and awesome. And I know you all will do an amazing job leading that group. So congratulations. And that makes me very happy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Does anyone have questions for Adeyinka about that? Okay. Anything finally, we have a few reminders down here. Don't forget about the education working group. And also CHAOSScon CFP is open still, as is availability to be on the CHAOSS booth if you would like. And you're going to be at OSSNA. Those are our reminders. Anything else we have to talk about today? Okay, so CHAOSScon folks, now that we kind of figured out our social event sitch, and I'll do the overall, we just need an MC, so I don't know if we still need to meet after this, or
I think we had our mini meeting at the beginning of our conversation today, and
yeah, it seems like
the master of ceremony is something we can decide a few weeks before the event. That
True,
is
true.
after we have the schedule put together. Before that, there isn't any work for the MC anyway.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Okay. All right. Well, I hope everybody has a great rest of your day. Sophia, best of luck to you, my darling. We'll be thinking about you the next few weeks. Everybody else have a great rest of your week, and we will see you here next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.